Hello, and thank you for joining us for another segment of Love Revolution. I'm your host, Mia Saenz. And in this segment with me, sitting next to me, as you can see, is Dawn Maslar. And she is a love woman. She's really great. And I've met her recently, and I just had to bring her to you. Now, she is the love biologist. And you're going to say, what is that? But that sounds really cool. And she's going to share it with us. She also has a love school. So before we get started, like always, remember to pause this, get your notepad and your pens and whatever you want to play and doodle with, and also get your yummy drink, whether it's that lovely lavender lemonade that I gave on the site for you or whatever it is. Bring it and enjoy it with us. And when you're ready, hit pause or unpause again and we'll be active. Okay, Dawn, this is awesome that you're here and you have so much to share with us. I'd like to turn this over to you.
Thank you very much. This is very exciting, Mia.
It is.
Before I talk about my research, I wanted to kind of just tell you a little bit how I got started in this. I was a biology professor who was attracted to the bad boy biker. Unfortunately. And so I was doing everything wrong, and it was frustrating. And eventually, what happened one day is I went to work, and I was in love with this guy. I was kind of following around. He was in a band. We didn't fit together at all.
It's not the biker, it's the band. They're all bad.
Yes.
We love them, don't we?
Exactly. I worked during the day. He worked at night. I'm like sitting in the bar at night, falling asleep, trying to pay attention to the band. It was bad. It was just bad. So I call him up one day, and I find out he's like, I can't talk to you anymore. And I'm like, what's wrong? And he said, I met somebody else, and I've asked her to marry me. Wow. And I was devastated. I was like, why? You didn't even give me a chance. And I was like, what is wrong? What is wrong with me? And that ended up starting this whole process of, I didn't get it right away. I ended up getting another bad relationship, but eventually I had to do some self-searching and figure out what was I doing wrong. And that led me into writing a book about it because I was picking the wrong guys, and that after I wrote the book, I started working with women, and I'd have these women, and I'd do workshops, and they kept asking me the same type of question. Fine, we know how to stop picking the wrong men now, because that was what the book was about. And they said, how do I get to real love? So that was the question. And I figured, I'm a biologist. I'm going to go to the library. I'll have this stuff figured out in a couple weeks. I'll come back and we'll get it. I'll tell them. Well, it's been about 4.5 years.
That's awesome. I love this.
4.5 years. We ran into a little bit of an issue thanks to Senator William Proxmire. You might not remember him, but back in the 70s, he created a thing called the Golden Fleece Award. And it was given to research projects that were considered wasteful. So guess what the first one was? It went to the National Science Foundation for the Research in the Science of Love.
Oh, goodness.
So all the researchers just stopped researching love. They're like, oh, it was the third rail. So there wasn't a lot of material on it. And that's why you don't hear a lot about the science of love. So I started putting it together, and what I've discovered is that love is not just one thing. Mm-hmm. Love changes and evolves. Romantic love. I mean, all love does, but particularly romantic love. So you have these distinct segments, and the first one is attraction. It all starts with attraction, and your attraction actually starts really in the subconscious brain. It starts with your senses. Mm-hmm. So your eyes, your nose, even your taste buds, they all register a vote. The research shows that one bad kiss can end the relationship, mm-hmm. especially in the beginning. And then once it goes past attraction and you realize that you like the person, then it moves into the dating phase. And it's actually, the dating phase is an important phase because that's where the neurotransmitters required for you to fall in love happen. And it also is a place where you evaluate. I call dating designating a time to evaluate. That's a date. Because when falling in love is actually a risk. We don't think of it as a risk. We think of it as a goal. But what happens is when you fall in love, parts of your brain, important parts of your brain, actually shut down, including your ventral medial prefrontal cortex. Mm-hmm. That's the part of your brain that judges. Mm-hmm. So you think, if without it, you think this person can do no wrong. And you know that when we fall in love, we're like, this guy is great. There's like nothing wrong with him. He's just wonderful. Also, the amygdala shuts down. That's the part of the brain that sounds the alarm. So without those two things, you're just like, this guy is so wonderful. You can't see anything wrong. So you look in his trunk, he's got a sawed-off shotgun and a ski mask, and you believe that he's doing winter hunting, deer hunting. and you praise him for his conservation efforts. You don't see anything. It's like total. Excuse me. It's the same thing that happened to Joyce Mitchell. You fall in love, and it's perfectly reasonable to smuggle in hacksaw blades into prison where you work. In fact, you find yourself standing at the aisle trying to figure out what color would match his eyes.
Which hacksaw?
Exactly. And then, and at the same time, all these neurotransmitters go up and down. Your serotonin level drops. So you're not actually happy, because everybody thinks love is happy and euphoric. You're not happy. It drops to the level of someone with OCD. So you're actually obsessed. That's why you can't keep your hands off each other. At the same time, your cortisol level skyrockets. Wow. So you're a nervous wreck. Huh?
So you get fat.
Actually, not really, because you've got some other stuff going on that kind of blocks really the effect of that high. Because at the same time, your oxytocin level skyrockets. Yeah. So it kind of blocks that I want to eat everything part of.
Instead, you want to eat him. Well,
yeah, exactly.
That came out wrong, but you know what I mean. Well, the love part, yeah.
Yeah, well, there's the fight or flight response actually has 4 Fs. There's fight, flight, feeding, and, I'll be nice, sex. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the feeding, you're not doing the feeding so much as you're doing the sex. Mm-hmm. So that's why in the beginning, that first...
Fornication, that's the F.
That's the F. The first year to 2 years, you're just having all kinds of sex.
Yeah.
Most of your relationship is in the horizontal position. Mm-hmm. But as you know, this is a temporary insanity. Mm-hmm. And eventually what happens is we move into a calmer, more life-affirming, real love. Mm-hmm. And that's where the neuroactivity actually moves in the brain. It moves from the more primitive parts of the brain into the prefrontal cortex. The part of the brain that was shut down when you fell in love, now it occupies that part of the brain, and it shares neurons with unconditional love and parental love. Mm-hmm. And it's right in there with ethics, morals, decision-making. So now love becomes more of a choice, and it's actually a higher type of love. And it's the type of love that can last a lifetime. Your cortisol level returns to normal because it can't stay that way. If it did, you'd have cancer and all kinds of opportunistic diseases.
Boy, love is sounding more and more scary.
Well, one of the questions I get all the time is, why does it have to end? Why does that feeling have to end? Why does Mother Nature do this? And why she does this is, I kind of remember back when I was a kid. And remember when you had your bicycle and you had the ones with the training wheels on it? And I had the training wheels. And one day my dad took me out and said, "You're a big girl now. We're going to take the training wheels off." And when he did, he put me on the bike until I got my balance, and he ran beside me. Did your dad do that?
I think so. I really trained myself instantly.
Oh, okay.
But I think I was also probably 7.
Well, my dad ran beside me for a while until I got my balance, until I understood what my balance felt like. And I think that's what Mother Nature does when you fall in love. She shows you what love is. She's showing you that love doesn't judge. She shows you that love trusts by shutting down your amygdala. And once you understand what love is really about, then she lets you go to love on your own.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you. I didn't make it up. It was Mother Nature.
You just clarified it for us. Thank you.
Yes. I'm just doing an observation.
It's awesome.
But research also shows that to maintain long-term love, you need to keep that part going. So couples that have maintained the ability to be passionate and loving after years and years of being married, they have what's called maintenance of positive illusions. That means that they see the other person for what they are, but they choose to love them anyway, warts and all. And they choose to look at what's the good parts about them instead of focusing on the negative. And once the critical part of your brain comes back and you start focusing on that, oftentimes that will lead to the demise of the relationship. In fact, that falling in love part lasts about 2 years, and we see a big spike in divorces at the 2-year mark. Mm-hmm. So that's probably one of the reasons why the brain comes back, and once what was appealing is now appalling.
Exactly.
You wake up one day, it's like, who's this person next to me? They're smacking their lips when they eat, and you're going, oh, that's so annoying.
Yeah,
so
it's amazing.
And we were talking about passion. You can still maintain passion too if you do new and novel things together, particularly things that really increase dopamine. The dopamine is that reward and also there's some excitement in there. So if you do something new that's different and kind of exciting, and we kind of joked before this talk about jumping out of an airplane, then that's something that you can do.
You want to have a good connection with your mate, jump out of an airplane with
Exactly. You'll be holding on for dear life. Well, I love you.
Exactly. That'll last another year, and then you have to think of something else. Go down a volcano.
Well, the attraction, it's kind of funny. In the beginning, it's weird how Mother Nature uses fear in love together. Fear actually will decrease love, but she uses fear to get to love. So in the beginning, attraction is when you feel those butterflies and the sweaty palms and all that, that's norepinephrine, and it feels a lot like adrenaline, which is a fear response. And back in the day, they used to have a ride called the Tunnel of Love, and all it was a scary ride, because when you went in there, you kicked up the adrenaline, it felt like norepinephrine, so you became attracted to the person you were with. It's a displacement. And they did a study once where they took men and put them on a bridge, and they put one on a safe little small bridge over a babbling brook, and they took another set and they put them on one of these bridges that swayed, and they had a low rope, and it was over jagged rocks and this white waters, and they made a woman walk out onto the bridge, and the ones that was on the scary bridge viewed the woman as more attractive and actually ended up calling her later. And the guys that were on the little mellow bridge didn't.
Wow.
So there's a
That's
connection.
Interesting, isn't that? Yeah.
There's a big connection between the fear and the love.
And that's why why you liked the bad boy. And
Exactly.
why you like the bad boys. Okay.
Yeah, getting on the back of that bike going, whoa!
Yeah. Or knowing that everybody likes your musician hottie. I mean, all my boyfriends have been musicians, even my husband. So it's I see what you're saying. Even the musicians, there's that fear that they're going to leave you for someone else because they're up on stage being adorable and everybody loves them. So
You know what's funny? They did a study, and they found that on men's profiles on dating sites, if you want to get more women, pose with a guitar.
And for girls, if you want to get more men, pose nude. No, I'm kidding.
Well, yeah, I know.
I'm just funny, but yeah. That's
either a guitar, the better one actually is a puppy, but a guitar is up there too.
That puppy one is, when guys do that, it drives me insane because it's like, come on, dude, this is so overworked, you know.
Well, I can't say anything. I met my significant other while he was out walking his puppy.
But it was probably his puppy and not somebody else's.
Oh, it was his puppy.
Those dudes that borrow dogs to pick up chicks, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If it's theirs, then that's perfect, that's sweet, but it's just so funny. Guys, well, they're probably laughing at us. Girls are so funny.
Yeah. Talk about a puppy and look at it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, the puppy's 9 years old now, or 10 actually.
Oh. Have you guys been together that long?
Yep.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful. That's lovely. You know, it really is amazing, the things that you brought up, and they make so much sense. So chemistry is different than when we meet somebody, we have to have a chemical reaction to them. There's some that we just go, wow. I mean, sometimes, yes, it's a sexual reaction, and we are just wanting to have them in that moment, and that's it.
Right.
Afterwards, you're like, oh, my God, what did I do? But chemistry is something that intrigues me because it's been obviously a very powerful thing for me because when you date that sounds funny. Watch what you say, Mia. When you have the opportunity to date a lot, you're presented with a lot of men, just like men are presented with a lot of women. So you see the difference between chemistry and non-chemistry, or even just that immediate thing that then dissipates. So can you talk a little bit about chemistry? Because I think that it's very important. I just want to say I was with this person before who is a lot younger than me, and the chemistry is like, was amazing, and I'm sure still would be. We weren't a fit, but the chemistry was off the charts. Why is that so much with somebody that we don't end up staying with?
Okay, so there's two things that you're talking about. The first one is the norepinephrine.
I have to say I love that you do this because I thought it was one, but I love that it's two.
It's actually two different things. So the first one is norepinephrine. That's that fight or flight response. That's that instant chemistry. I call it that response, love at first sight.
Yeah. And
I use the acronym LAFS, L-A-F, love at first sight, because that's what Mother Nature is doing when you fall for it. Mm. She's laughing at you. But what, where I think that comes from is that it's a stress response. And that during times of stress, like fire, famine, war, we need to procreate. So when we find somebody that is sexually attractive and that neurotransmitter kicks in, that norepinephrine kicks in, there's almost an electricity connection between two people. Mm-hmm. But it's very temporary. And I think...
Really?
Yeah, and on norepinephrine, mm-hmm. You have to go over to the next phase.
Okay.
At the investigation phase. Some people fall for that norepinephrine. They call it love at first sight. For example, Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee met and married within 96 hours. Mm-hmm. That's a 3-day weekend. Mm-hmm. They were met on Friday, married by Monday. Mm-hmm. The problem with norepinephrine is that it's a fight or flight response hormone, or fight or flight hormone. So in order to keep feeling that feeling of love, you have to keep triggering it. Mm-hmm. What that means is it's a drama-filled relationship. Mm-hmm. So what happened with them is that they were on and off again for like 3 years. The last 6 months he spent in the county jail for domestic violence.
Right, I remember.
So you don't want to... That's one of those things where you feel it and you go, I know, Mother Nature, you're messing with me. I'm not going to fall for it this time. Then you have to go to the next one, which is the dating phase. And you've got to let that initial response dissipate down. Then we kick into the real chemistry. The real chemistry is when our senses evaluate. So we're actually attracted to people that are opposite and familiar. There's a combination. Mm-hmm. So we can sense things called major histone compatibility complexes. Those are parts of your immune system that when you sense them, a woman is going to be most attracted to a man of the opposite immune system. which makes sense because if you have children, that would give you a perfect complement of immune cells for that child. You would give them a much healthier immune system because you've got two different types of immune systems going in. But you're also, there's a combination of how far, because think about it, if you are attracted to your complete opposite, it's probably somebody from the other side of the world, doesn't look like you, doesn't speak your language, doesn't have the same cultural background. So,
that's my husband.
There you go.
My current husband.
Okay.
Yeah.
I rest my case.
Yeah, exactly.
But the problem is, with your husband, you probably met him in the United States and you had the same language.
Yeah.
In the old days, when everybody was kind of clustered, if you met somebody like that, you probably didn't speak the language. You probably had totally cultural differences. It would have been difficult for you to get together. So you had to have a combination between familiar and different. So you had the perfect storm. He was genetically different, but he was familiar enough because he lived where you lived, spoke the same language. So that's why you're together today.
Interesting. I love this. This is fantastic.
But that's the real chemistry. The other stuff is just an illusion. It's just a temporary it's just a temporary thing to get you together. It's to break down your barriers enough to get you close to somebody for the rest of the better investigation.
Let's jump into something that everybody wants to know about finding the one.
Okay, great. It's funny because I just had somebody talking about this. She's like, I want to know about finding the one. And after all my research, I realized that love is really a chemical reaction. And the thing is that it doesn't really matter what person you're with. The attraction is important. That's what gets you close. But you can actually fall in love with somebody as long as you have the two chemicals that are going on and not really mean to. So that can create a problem. So the reason why the girl brought it up is that she was dating somebody, but she's not really sure if he's the one. And she started thinking, well, if I had sex with him and then, if I'm fooling around with him and I enjoy him, maybe I'll figure out if he's the one. Mm-hmm. And the problem is those can cause the chemical reaction to fall in love. Mm-hmm. And when you fall in love, I've talked about before, your parts of your brain shut down, the logical parts of the judgment parts of your brain shut down. And what can happen is that you can stay in that relationship for a couple years and then come back out of it and go, wait a minute, I think I made a mistake. Mm-hmm. And the mistake, you don't really make a mistake, but the issue is that you don't really look for what you want in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Instead of looking for the one and you're trying to find the one by identifying the way it makes you feel, you need to find the person that you want in your life that has the characteristics mm-hmm. that you want. So you're using the intellectual part of your brain in the beginning. And a lot of us we go for the subconscious part of the brain. It's like, am I feeling good? How does this feel? But really what you would want to do when you start dating is going, hey, is this the type of person I want to spend the rest of my life with? Do they have the characteristics that I like, that I want in my life? And remember, we're attracted to opposites, and then we incorporate those in our lives. So they may have features that actually could be irritating, but that you really want to draw into your life. For example, I'm kind of peaceful, and my boyfriend's like high maintenance, or not high maintenance, but high energy kind of, uh-huh. He's kind of the type A. And sometimes I drive him crazy because I'm so zen, but secretly he really wants to be that way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why he's with you.
Exactly. And he does, and when he's on his moments, he'll be like, I wish I was a little bit more like that. He thinks he likes his type A, go, but then he definitely likes the more calmer, and he appreciates that.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, I love to have people when they're looking for the one to create a list and to be that list, you know, to absolutely be those qualities so you bring in and you absolutely know what you want.
Yes, I've heard you talk about that before, and it's brilliant. You write down the list of things that you want, and I like that piece. So, like, be that piece, because when you're being that piece, you are realizing if that's really what you want, and you're also being able to kind of attract that energy.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how you know who you want and what you want, you know.
Yes.
And also just even dating helps us understand when we start dating, we're not, sometimes when we're older, we think, we're going to get married now. We're going to find the one. But really take the time, right, to just explore what another person likes so you know what you don't want and you know what you do want.
Yes, I call it duty dating.
Dating.
You go out with people that you may not necessarily, you go, maybe you see an online profile that's kind of, you're like iffy on. You go out anyway. And you figure out what qualities you like about that person. And sometimes you're pleasantly surprised. You're like, wow, I really like them more than I expected to be.
Yeah.
And you find characteristics that you thought were important, and you realize that, this is really more important. And that list that you created sometimes shifts.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. I call that keeping the energy open.
Right.
Just because, you know, the more we date, we're not shutting that door, you know, of that flow. And you know me, the spiritual side is like, I have to say that part.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When I was going through the process myself, I was dating, and there was like this guy I really liked, but I didn't appreciate at the time, and I didn't think about it at the time, of having someone who is established and responsible. That seemed kind of boring to me. Until I met that person and went, wait a minute, I really like that stability, that dependability.
Yeah.
You know, and at the time I was kind of a little more I was in a bohemian phase of my life. I was an artist, and, you know, so that didn't seem so boring, but I like it now.
I know. I think back and give so much gratitude because having the relationship I'm in now is so much stronger and committed and there for me. I mean, okay, face it, us women, we like the attention.
Oh, yeah.
And the men that run away and text whenever they're, you know, want to or don't respond to your texts, those really, even though there's great chemistry or there's great connection, if you want and you know that you need somebody to be there for you in a relationship, then you go for the ones that are the stable ones. So
yes.
That's awesome. I've discovered I like that so much better.
Oh yeah. That's what I love about Ed. I know that if anything happens to me anywhere around the world, I could be in a different country and I have a problem, I would call him and he would make it work so I'd get out of my problem.
Exactly. That's awesome. Well, wonderful. What free gift you have a free gift for us? What would you like to share about it?
Well, it's a mission to Love School. I set up a video archive of lessons in Love School, and it's an ongoing lesson. So if you sign up for the free prize, you'll get a lesson each week, and it's talking about the science of love. And I bring in questions and people that have problems, and I've done things like I've done profile reviews of people in their dating profile, and showed how you can improve those. And I've talked about how the different phases of love and how falling in love works. So, and if you've got a question or if somebody else has a question, they can send it in and I will address it and make a video on it too.
Awesome. That's lovely. Good. Yay. So all you single babes or ones who want to build a stronger relationship within the relationship that you have. Yeah, exactly. Right. But we have a lot of single women who are watching going, I want to find love. So
I do get a lot of dating questions. So awesome. I focus a lot on dating, but I also get questions about how to maintain love and the secrets of maintaining love.
That's awesome. Yeah, because we all want to continue, and we all go through rough patches even, that we need a little refresher course or we need something to make us approach something differently. So that's awesome. Wonderful.
Or reminders. Yeah. Sometimes it's just a gentle reminder.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Would you like to leave us with one last thought before we sign off?
One last thought. Love is your strongest biological desire. And when you understand that, nothing else really matters as much, because it's your default. It's our natural default. So we are placed on this earth to love.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dawn, for being on with us. It was lovely to have you.
Thank you, Mia.
And thank you all. We'll see you in another episode.